Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're finishing Super Eyepatch Wolf's The Simpsons Is Good Again. Last time around, we got to the This Is Fine episodes, which were fine, and that was a really great thing compared to the previous episodes, which were watching my childhood get crammed into a little small doll body, being puppeted around and then dragged outside in an emasculated corpse that is just giant holes gaping from it as you just watch in horror as people laugh and point at what used to be the remains of something you loved, and you're just sitting there going, oh, this is the inspiration for Human Centipede. Pure concentrated suffering. I didn't need to know that. Yeah, that's where we're going on this one. I've been told, whether truthfully or not, I don't know yet, that what's coming next is the good part. This is going to be that moment where it's like, hey, it's good. No one's fucked around. It's not just moments of fleeting awesomeness followed by sheer crushing what the fuck. I don't know if that's the case, but we're going to find out because at this point, I just need to believe. And if I'm wrong, we'll find out. Yeah. More importantly, link below video. Hit up. Let's get started.
Treehouse of Horror 33.
So
As
what
a
makes
kid,
this
I
special?
remember watching Treehouse of Horror episodes and being
were they all
shocked
numbered?
at how much more
Oh, I guess it's one per
violent
season.
and disturbing they were than anything else on primetime TV.
I mean, when I watched these as a kid, they actually scared me. Granted, I was... okay, I still am easily scared and an absolute coward, so the bar was really low. But this managed to reach that admittedly very small bar for someone who was maybe 5 years old. Again, low bar, but it happened.
They were my first indication that horror was something I was going to be into. That cocktail
See, I had the exact opposite.
genuine fear and chaotic comedy, so strange and impactful, making for some of the best episodes
I
the
couldn't
show
do these.
has
Those freaked
ever
me out
produced.
so much as a kid.
The Shinning, Terror at 5.5 Feet,
Wait.
Bad
The what?
the show has ever produced. The Shinning,
Oh, it's the name of the episode. I thought he was just taking this Shining as West a knockoff of, but no, it's probably called the Shinning because that's where the knockoff. Okay, I get it. I thought it was just a weird mistaken word
Terror
there.
at 5.5 Feet, Bad Dream
Based on the
House,
plane.
Time and Punishment. I'm gonna stop
What?
there, but I could keep going. And to me, the big difference between those episodes
What
and
the
modern
hell?
Treehouse of Horror is that while classic Treehouses embraced their source material and became actually kind of good horror in the process,
Yeah.
modern Simpsons tends to roll its eyes
What?
at that same source material, becoming more a mockery than a genuine attempt at horror, which is why the first segment of this episode kinda knocked me on my ass.
So it
The
became
Babadook
funny.
parodies the
Wait,
film
it's actually...
The Babadook, seeing Marge become possessed by an evil
See, here's the thing. I don't actually know anything about the Babadook because my wife does, and she's terrified of it. Which doesn't sound like something that impressive, except my wife loves creepy shit. She has repeatedly gone to bed, woken up at 2 in the morning. It's like, this is a great time to listen to scary stories about how horrible insert random mass tragedy is and all of the horrible gripping details are. And then I just wake up midway through a dream because I start hearing this and it just fucks me up. Again, have I mentioned I'm a coward? Yeah. She's scared of this. That scares me enough that I'm not going to check it out. And if I did, she would tell me not to because she doesn't want to deal with it again. Ah. Dear, if you're watching this, well, you probably already know I'm just skipped off at this point, so we're probably safe.
storybook, after which she begins to try and murder Maggie. And if that concept sounds disturbing,
That is fucked up.
it is. With everything from the cinematography to the sound design pushing this episode just a smidge beyond
What?
parody, to the point that it's actually quite frightening.
Oh, that is fucked up. Oh, shit, that's the sound design? Now, I'm not sure if that's just because I had headphones on right now, but that actually had multiple layers around the ears. And I actually got chills listening. Oh, I want to do that again.
Actually quite frightening.
Yeah, it had multiple layers on there. You kept that through there? Damn.
I hear you.
Treehouse of Horror has always been a way for the show to try new and weird things, and the Babadook is such a creepy, ambitious
Pookie gets a hold
example
of
of
you.
that. But even it pales in the face of how much further the second segment of the episode takes that concept. Death Tome is a
What the
full-on
fuck?
anime reimagining of the
Oh, yeah, I've heard of this one. I didn't realize that was real. I legitimately thought this is like one of those, hey, a fan made this. Huh. All creatures great and cheap. For anyone who doesn't get it, All Creatures Great and Small is both a verse and a famous book series about animals, and the joke here is butcher shot properly.
The Simpsons. And not only is it kind of
Whoa.
shocking to see how beautifully translated the Simpsons world and characters have been transformed into an anime style,
The fuck? Homer doesn't look bad. Marge is damn. Lisa? I mean, she's about to become the Kira, assuming so. Yeah. Mr. Burns is actually moderately terrifying, but looks like that entire face is. This hurts my brain.
Translated the Simpsons world and characters have been transformed into an anime style, it also has some of the best jokes of the entire season, and was so well received that it both went massively viral online and was nominated for a 2022 Annie for Best TV Media. And
Wait, they were nominated for an Emmy because of this? I had to have misheard that.
Viral online and was nominated for a 2022 Annie for Best TV Media, and online and was nominated for a 2022 Annie for Best TV.
Oh, Annie. Okay, it's not an Emmy. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I have no idea what an Annie is, so I guess it gets their gun or something? I don't know.
TV Media, and I get why. This to me is the most fresh, raw, and exciting The Simpsons has felt in years.
All I need to do is go full anime.
It was the same giddy feeling of watching Treehouse of Horror as a kid and feeling like
I recognize some of these
anything was
characters.
possible. And yeah, nothing could have prepared me for what was to come in its third.
Oh, Bart's there too?
Part. The opening of this segment is bizarre
The
as we
monorail?
find ourselves
I thought that was never built.
in season 4, episode 12.
What?
Marge versus the monorail.
Oh, I
One of
remember
the
that
most
episode.
Beloved episodes in the history of The Simpsons. And
They
it
went
doesn't just
back?
look like that episode. It is that episode, right down to the rough analog line quality.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And just as it starts to feel like the wrong piece of footage is playing, this happens.
I call the big one Birdie.
Two unknown characters, each with 5 fingers, enter the scene and begin.
Oh, shit, yeah, they do have the right amount of fingers. And it just got clear. Like, what? I'll be honest, if I had watched this, I would legitimately think, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I should probably call someone because I am hallucinating right now. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I should see a doctor? Do I smell like toast right now? This would break my head so hard.
Begin quoting The Simpsons.
Oh, let's get high and shoot Mr. Burns.
They're Simpsons fans. Homer starts acting strange, repeating
What?
catchphrases and lines from old episodes, who is then
What?
dumped in the back of a truck.
Westworld.
And driven through
It's a Westworld
street full
joke.
of Simpsons characters all performing scenes from classic episodes. This is Simpsons World, a theme park where robotic versions of the Simpsons characters play out Golden Age moments
Oh, you can actually see the dent in his head.
over
What's that
and
hair?
over and over until today, when our malfunctioning Homer becomes self-aware and tries.
And yeah, they actually went full Westworld. Not even partially, but complete and utter Westworld. You know, that's actually kind of hilarious in a very fucked up way. Specifically that Westworld is something that had an amazing start and then fell off completely. And The Simpsons is something that had an amazing start and then it fell off completely. With the possibility that maybe it's getting better. It so far sounds like it's getting better. Also, this is a 3-parter, so they really put a lot in there.
And tries to escape with his family.
That's a lot of
Earlier in this
Maggies.
video, I criticized modern Simpsons for relying too much on references to classic episodes.
But this one's doing the same thing, but
difference
well.
here is what this episode says with those references.
That's a Grinch.
Take how differently the hedge meme is handled. In season 30, Homer sending Lisa the gif of himself was just this empty
Stupid.
reference that didn't mean anything. But here, watch how differently it plays out.
Name! 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 I'm so sick of that stupid hat! Oi, 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 oi,
Why are they saying oi?
Homer is
Oh, shit.
furious at this joke, at this meme, at being trapped in this endless, infinitely repeating perception of himself, trapped by the expectation of his audience, and now wanting to be free from it. And if it sounds like I'm reaching here, check out this moment when Marge sees a statue of Matt Groening holding Bart's hand and wrenches it loose, leaving just this image of Bart alone without his original creator. And this moment fucking got me.
Yeah, the symbolism isn't even subtle there. It's very much we're our own thing. And also because it's a Treehouse of Horror, the horror is they have to fail. Which is probably what it would feel like for the writers at this point, knowing that they can do good things on their own. This entire episode showing they could do good things when they do it on their own. And then the belief after previous seasons that they're probably not going to be allowed to do good things on their own. Because it seems like, if anything, this second half of the video has proven, yeah, The Simpsons can be good. The writers do have the ability to do good stuff when they're allowed to. So it was probably more the process that just absolutely destroyed the comedy.
Because I realize this episode is answering the question I've been asking this entire video. What is The Simpsons in 2023? The Simpsons is a show whose past is so beloved, so worshipped, that none of us can move past it. And so...
I also just realized that's the Cybertruck from Tesla. Oh, yeah. I was kind of surprised it didn't break just putting things on the back of it. Also, what he's saying is very much hitting home, because I literally just said in the beginning of this video, everything he just said is being called out by this one. The past is so beloved. The past is what is holding them as something that no one can get over. And I literally started this video by talking about how I can't get over the past. Yes, they're completely right, and I am epitomizing it. Still think the truck looks stupid.
We regurgitate our favorite parts endlessly, but in doing so, trapping both the characters and the people who now make this show in an infinite cycle of being compared to the past. And that is what this episode, what this show now is. It's characters and the people who now make it trying to break free, trying to find value in a new future
Simpsons
beyond
world.
what used
It's all
to
fucked
be.
up.
That's a fucking incredible piece of metafiction, and it's a
And if there's any indication about the length of the time, I should probably stop here and say, good job, everyone. It got good again. Because I've seen Super Eyepatch Wolf. When he builds up to a point like this, it's usually followed by, and then this happened. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's and then good things happen afterwards. I could just give me a few seconds with this belief. I know I'm wrong, but I just want it. It was good while it lasted.
amazing, not because it feels like classic Simpsons, but because it doesn't. Something like this could have never existed in the classic era, because
Yeah,
it
they
takes
didn't
into
have anything to
account
pull
the
from.
decades of references, the countless memes, and the narrative that The Simpsons was only good 25 years ago. A narrative perpetuated by fans like me, and this episode calls us out, and we deserve it. Combined with the other two segments, this was one of my favorite Treehouses of Horror ever.
They managed to fit all that
an
in there.
absolute high point.
Like, unironically, how long were each individual segment? Because these episodes are usually 20 minutes, but... Or is Treehouse of Horror let... No, I was about to ask if they were allowed to have more time, and then I realized every problem with The Simpsons can be summarized as not having enough time to do what they actually want to do with it and forcing too much into too little time. So, yeah, I think I answered my own question on that one.
Point for The Simpsons of any era. And so when I scored it was easy. I gave it a 10.
Damn.
The very best of what The Simpsons can be.
Actual horror,
in
a
2023.
completely different style, just
But
making a good point.
would that be enough to nudge season 34 over that line, even with its
It was
weaker
close.
episodes?
It was close.
So
It's probably
when
at the
I
line.
added up the final score, the results
Right under the line, right over the line.
was 6.90909, which, for the sake of justifying this entire
Yeah, he's rounding up, but dear God, man, really?
fucking video, we're just gonna call a 7.
You fucking... The entire bit, Really? You just did the little switcheroo. It's like, yeah, it's a 6, except it's not. Yeah, I get the point. Honestly, it sounds about right. It's on the verge of being exactly what I want. And for the sake of reasoning, it's close enough that it is. And even the joke he's making makes sense in a very analytical way. But also, yeah, he knows what he did there. That freaking cutaway.
So,
how many seasons
there you
were
have
there,
it.
though?
After a decade-defining television, after the most infamous fall in media history, after spending...
No, this only came out 4 months ago. He should know better. The most infamous fall was very much Game of Thrones. I mean, yeah, Game of Thrones managed to speedrun what The Simpsons did, but The Simpsons also survived it, where Game of Thrones technically also survived it because it then went on to House of the Dragon, which from what I've heard is amazing. I'm just there for the fantasy stuff, and the fantasy stuff is what they really fucked up in the later seasons. So, yeah, I never got far. Also because I just hated more characters than I actually liked, and that didn't make it easy to get into the show. So, yeah, okay, actually they're pulling off the exact same thing.
A quarter of a century as an uncanny zombified version of itself.
Quarter century, man. Holy shit, when you put it that way.
The Simpsons is good again.
Damn. But
Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Like, okay, but how good is it? What do you mean? I mean, like, how good is it?
See, what he's doing right now is something I very much want to do. Abuse having a green screen, because you have a green screen to abuse. Also, if anyone has suggestions on how to do that, I would love to get ideas, because I want to abuse being able to do exactly what he's doing right now, because it's funny as hell.
Compared to... No, please don't say it.
What?
Classic Simpsons.
No, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how
though.
things used to be. It only matters how they are.
You know, which...
I mean, there should also be a third voice, that it also matters what they were between when they were horrible and then when they were bad, because that really does matter. Yeah, it may not be as good as it used to be, but also, is it better than it was? That also really matters.
Season you should review?
No, don't say
Wait, what?
it. Not that. Anything but that.
You should
What?
review season 6.
No, not
What was
season
season
6. For
6?
the love of God, not season 6.
When are you gonna go back to making
When
new
it
watches?
started.
No!
Defining
Going
what
downhill.
classic era Simpsons is actually a little more difficult than you might think. To some, it's the first 10 seasons. To others, it is strictly seasons 3 to 8. But
Really? Not the
whatever
first
way
2?
you want to qualify it, be it TV ratings, IMDb scores, or whatever else, it is unheard of to try and define classic Simpsons without season 6. The precise
Why?
intersection of the more heartfelt and grounded early Simpsons shot through with the chaotic, razor-sharp comedy of seasons 7 and 8. And if you want evidence of that, you only need to look at the amount of jokes that have survived 30 years of existence.
Oh, so I thought he was going to say season 6 is where it really started falling off, because I thought I thought he was generalizing season 5 is where it started the decline. But apparently not.
Homer saying this will require all my skill before punching through the alarmed glass, the gentle Ben talk show, the phone call from God. Free Jones, the Under the Sea musical number, Homer's entire rock bottom interview, stewing in his own juices where his body temperature has reached over 400 degrees. Homer combining cola and pop rocks to cause an explosion as he yells, "See you in hell, candy boys," the oxygen tent which he believes gives him sexual powers.
Everything that was just said caused me physical pain, because I know for a fact there are dumbasses who believe this now. And I hate everything about the fact that I know about this. So they got the idea then from The Simpsons and thought, hey, this gag that's stupid, that no one should believe, we're going to actually do it? This is That's like a guy writes books about fantasy and sci-fi, says he can make a ton of money making a religion, and then people actually believe it when he does that later to make money. That was stupid. What'd you call that? Tology science or something? What the fuck, man?
Rowdy Roddy Peeper. And here's the thing.
What?
All those jokes are fucking immortal, and they are all from the same 22-minute episode. And
That's the same episode?
It's not even the best episode in season
The
6.
fuck?
Heart of Darkness is a viciously funny 22 minutes exploring what childhood summer feels like and underscoring that narrative with a hilarious yet genuinely compelling Rear Window parody plot. Treehouse of Horror 5 is possibly
The Rear Window. Oh, because he knows that he is watching someone who's a murderer through the spyglass. Telescope wall. Why did I say spyglass? I'm dating myself on that one.
undisputed king of Halloween episodes with The Shinning,
Ew.
Time and Punishment, and Nightmare Cafeteria. And Lisa on Ice is maybe my personal favorite episode of all time. Equally surgical at creating insanely timeless comedy and genuine sob-inducing moments. A level of quality that is matched by scant few others, like Who Shot Mr. Burns, which is
That was also season 6?
this season. Homer the Great, Homer the Clown, Bart vs. Australia, Lemon of Troy, for God's sake. And it's like, of course a season of television like this would create something as massive as what The Simpsons was. An inertia that would propel the show across 30 years and trap it under impossible expectation. And yeah, of course that standard would eventually fall. How could it not? It feels insane to try and apply a numerical score to a piece of media
That would be an 11, wouldn't it?
this iconic and impactful, but score it I did, with no episode receiving less than a 9 and nearly half the episodes receiving a 10, for a total score of 9.5.
Damn.
So,
What the hell would a 10 look like? Across the board. Like, every episode has to be perfect, and then even better? Yeah, that makes sense. But just with how he was how he was explaining it, I was expecting this would be a 10, maybe even 11. It's just so great. No, he's actually still being very critical from what it sounds like, something that should have been well above it.
Where the hell does that leave us? Well,
Better than what came
if
before.
you're asking me, do I think The Simpsons is good again? Yeah, I really
Good,
do.
but it's not
If you're
great
asking,
again.
is The Simpsons what it was? No, it isn't.
And it's probably
The
never
Simpsons
going
golden
to be then.
age is over. And whatever the show is or might become, it's never going to be that. Early Simpsons, particularly season 6, is this impossible, iconic thing. A perfect, beloved season of television.
See, this is the part that kind of gets me right now, because he's talking about how beloved, how great this is. But in the previous seasons, the not good seasons, he's shown when the writers got time to do something well, some of them really pulled together amazing episodes. Were they all funny? No, some of them weren't. Some of them were horrifying. Some of them were scary. Some of them were serious Flanders, which is something I never thought would be a thing, because it's basically just a half parody of basically every modern Western you see out there. I know there's specific ones, but the tones felt so similar to so many different ones. It kind of feels like an entire mock of a genre, but at the same time, not entirely mocking it and playing it straight to show an audience who would never be exposed to that type of media what that media feels like. And yeah, it doesn't feel like they couldn't do this again. It feels more like they just haven't been able to do it again. It's like, the perfect score is out there. You could put every piece in Tetris into the perfect point where you can crash it. And instead, we're just crashing past that limit and going to someone who's on news just saying, well, why would you actually want to do that? The kid should have ignored the game and gone outside. But that would be a completely stupid take that everyone should ignore. It feels kind of like that.
It always will be, and it always was. The only thing is, that's not actually true.
What?
Like, at all.
Oh?
Remember this review from the start of the video?
Actually, no, I don't. Mostly because my memory shit. If I was watching this all in one sitting, I still wouldn't remember this. which is more an indictment of my own memory and admittedly completely accurate. Grr, who was responsible for last night's monstrosity? He should be forced to apologize on the air and then be fired from the show, sterilized, and sent to live like an animal in the sewers below Los Angeles for the rest of his life. IMDb episode review for season 34, 2023. Oh, so I guess we're on 35 now.
Well, this is not actually a review for season 34
What?
written in 2023. It is a review of season 6 written in 1994
The fuck?
for the episode Lisa on Ice. And it is not the only one. There's a video essay by the channel The Real Gems called The Mystery of Golden Age Simpsons, and it raises some really interesting points, but most interesting.
So people hated it at the time because it wasn't what they were expecting, or because it was too shocking. Or I guess it didn't fit the style of humor people wanted at the time because it was different, maybe. That's a possibility, so I guess it wouldn't hit for some people for that very reason.
For our purposes is in relation to these beloved untouchable episodes and how they were not always that, which The Real Gems proves by uncovering old Usenet Simpsons episode reviews written.
Usenet? Oh, this is like early 90s internet. Dude, I forgot we actually had that back then. I mean, I know we've had it since like the 80s and technically earlier, but I also remembered it was shit. And the 90s is when it started really becoming usable and not just, that's nice. Don't.
Written by fans of The Simpsons as these episodes were airing.
Really?
Found on simpsonsarchive.com. Listen to what some of them have to say about
What?
the most beloved
Do they say why?
episodes in history. Itchy and Scratchy Land. Well, overall, I thought this episode was very weak. It still followed the season 5 format of methodical writing, showing one joke after another like a tired sitcom, instead of simply throwing a whole bunch of jokes at the audience at once.
This guy's complaint is literally saying, I don't like what most people consider the Golden Age, and then describing what became their format for the following, I guess, Zombie Simpson era. Just throwing a whole bunch of jokes at the audience at once. Did this guy become one of the writers on the new Simpsons?
2.5 out of 4 stars. I'd have to say this was a pretty mediocre episode, but compared to what has been shown so far this season, it was a marked improvement. This makes my top 5 worst list of all time, easily. Killer robots, please.
Yeah, Killer Robots. That's that's a lot more unreliable or unrelatable or unbelievable. Funny. When you don't remember, Boston Dynamics made a robot dog, eerily representative of a Black Mirror episode where they had robot dogs with guns, and how someone immediately bought the actual dog, put a gun on it, and it is now able to be used to basically do killer robots. Yeah, that's already happened. Everyone's worried about AI. Out here, though, we have literal robot dogs with seeking functions with guns. That is not even a joke. That is actually a thing. If you weren't aware of it, be aware of it. If you see a robot with a protrusion out of its head, don't worry. It is literally a killer dog robot. It will find you. Run.
Bart of Darkness. I thought the humor was a little old and didn't come over very evenly. Personally, I thought the rear window thing was way overdone. Are we getting less intelligent or what?
I mean, admittedly, I think the answer to that is always yes, you're definitely getting less intelligent. Because have you ever met someone who looks like they have dementia and you realize, oh no, they're just dumb? Usually they're making comments online. What he's reading right now, apparently.
Homer the Great. This is the first time I've ever been disappointed by an episode with Homer in its title. First, the plot was simply too unbelievable. Second, many of its gags just didn't work. They were either predictable, stale, cheesy, or just plain embarrassing. Bart versus Australia. Ouch, that was the single worst Simpsons I've ever seen. I better see some improvements to the show or it will be history soon. Bart's comment.
Probably still watching now.
What the hell? I seem to remember when Simpsons episodes had plots which related to rather than hopelessly contorting real life.
God damn. That guy would definitely hate what came next.
I have never thought an episode of The Simpsons could be that bad. Lisa on Ice. The stories are no longer clever. Instead, they're complete crap. I think they are trying to fill an obvious lack of story creativity with gags, and it's getting really old. Duh.
So, all of contrarianism. There's always a segment of any fan base who likes to hate it. Hell, I know that's the case for me. There's people who come to my channel and leave comments about how they hate everything about me, but they will be at every video, constantly, every time, right away. They are some of the most loyal people to my channel, and they hate my guts. If they met me in person, I will probably not walk away from that encounter alive, but they will be here every time, and this is exactly what we're getting right now, isn't it?
Me lose brain, why I laugh. Grr, who
Still
was
laugh,
responsible for last night's monstrosity? He should be forced to apologize on air
And the sterilized
then
comment,
be
yeah.
fired from the show, sterilized and sent to live like an animal in the sewers below Los Angeles for the
Admittedly, Los Angeles sewers are a lot better than some cities because they are meant to handle a lot of shit and also a lot of stormwater, which is why there is a massive problem with retaining water because they can't anymore. It's a problem.
rest of his life. The episode Bart's Comet is repeatedly cited as an all-time low for the series.
Really?
There's even mention of something being called the Comet Sucks phenomenon, which was likely an online backlash against this episode. A backlash that, as far as I can tell, has completely disappeared from the internet. There is, of course, positive reviews in here as well, but I'm focusing on the negative because I think it really shows something. What is so palpable in so many of these reviews is
People like being
resentment
mad.
around the feeling that The Simpsons, even by season 6, had changed. And the reason I find that so interesting is because when I read the negative IMDb reviews of season 34, it's that exact same sentiment and tone. Reviews less angry about what the show is and more so about what it no longer was. Simpsons used to have a good plot.
So when they made that episode for Treehouse of Horror, that was very much, here's all the fans who said how great we used to be, and they just want to relive those days. This is exactly what they're talking about. And the reason I take it so seriously is probably because they went back to the golden age and have the exact same level of bullshit. Honestly, that episode makes a lot more sense now. It's not just a biting commentary. It's literally, we're looking at you, we're aware of you, we still don't care, but you're annoying.
Or 2 in each episode, but this episode has none at all. I expected a lot better from America's longest running adult cartoon and probably one of the most influential shows to any of the creators whose shows preceded The Simpsons. The Simpsons used to be the most clever cartoon ever made when it started. How did it go from classic episodes telling actual stories which were equally
And it's just
funny,
saying it's not as good as it
emotionally
used to be.
rewarding, and socially observant
Rose-colored glasses
to
are probably
this?
involved.
If you watch season 34 and don't like it, that's not wrong. There are valid reasons to dislike it on its own merits.
But
in holding a piece of media to a standard it had 30 years ago when it was created by,
and also a standard that is heavily influenced by your own perception of it at the time, warped with time, age, and re-remembering it, distorting your own memory of it. Because things that you thought were one way do change when you re-examine them because your situation does change and how you initially saw it. It's why certain old games that you think were amazing and you love them, you go back and, why does it look like Pong? Yeah, that is actually a thing some people do. And it does change how you approach things. Although, at least the humor here is still pretty damn biting whenever he does show it.
different people in a different culture in a fucking different era of civilization at this point.
Yeah. For anyone who's wondering about that, that is actually because we have technically transferred from, at least within my lifetime and whenever The Simpsons started versus now, we have gone from a post-war high, essentially, where the world order was stabilized after the end of the Cold War, to the information age. And that was actually a very distinct time period where it was booms and booms and booms and everything is getting bigger. And then the information age happens and everyone knows about everything and everything is out there. And also that's piled on with a lot of collapses that actually started well before and did happen there, but they're all clumped in with later things, even though the timeline doesn't really work out sometimes. So it's all kind of at that epoch where it's not really the 2000 mark, but in a lot of different locations between when The Simpsons started and what they're at now, there is very dividing lines on how the eras of history have really kind of divided things. It's not everywhere. It's not universal. And it's probably going to be a while before that's in the history books, but there are actually comments calling this the information age that do put this in the late 90s, early 2000s as the dividing line. But again, because it's so recent, those are not universal yet. But what he's talking about is essentially that. I'm not sure if he's referring to this specifically, but that is a thing that does exist now.
I have to ask, how much is to actually be gained by viewing anything through that lens? Even if you retained all the same writers and showrunners and animators
they'd be burned out,
on
though.
The Simpsons in its prime, do you think that after 30 years they'd want to still make it? That they'd still feel passionately about it? That they'd even be capable of it?
What he's describing is actually something in Hollywood and a lot of productions that have very fast, not symptomatic. No, well, technically symptomatic might actually be a way to describe it, but episodic designs. This is something they run into. And some of the places that you see this is both, not Friends. Well, I would never reference that willingly. Seinfeld and Saturday Night Live. They will churn out, bring in, and then remove writers frequently. Very few people stick around because they need new, fresh ideas. For SNL, that's very much some stick around long term, but a lot more are brought in and leave and brought in and leave. Where for Friends, why do I keep saying Friends? I hate myself for even bringing that up. It's not, no, don't, just don't. For Seinfeld, they would bring in an entire host of writers for a season, and they were very aware they were going to be burned out and milked for every joke they got to work in there, to do their best damn job. And at the end of the season, that's it. They're done. They're moving on. New people will be brought in. And that wasn't a surprise. That wasn't a shock to anyone. They were brought in and said, okay, begin to work. You'll sleep in a year when we're done. Or whenever the season technically was done being made. And that is a thing. Burnout of creativity is very much a process. Whether that was a good policy or not is debatable. Honestly, some Seinfeld episodes were better than others, but that's just my opinion. But that is a thing he's talking about that is very well known in a professional setting.
I don't think they would.
Referencing Seinfeld is probably the wrong one for anyone watching the show.
Instead, they'd be making something different, but interesting. But I think we got that.
Like, did one of them go on to Conan or something?
I think that's what season 34
being allowed to do different and interesting.
I got a comment on a video that said something like, anyone else remember when this channel was good? I miss the old channel. Everything.
People say this to me all the time. Granted, they usually reference, I actually remember when it was good, but it used to be. Sometime. Maybe. Were you always this bad? I think you were. Oh, shit. Never mind. I've got that exact comment at least twice now. I mean, once is a weird thing. It's just weird that it happened twice.
Thing he makes now is garbage. Now, granted, I'm removing some slurs and what I'll call gamer rage from that one. But you want to know when I got this comment?
Last week?
I got it 6 years ago, right after I made the original Fall of the Simpsons video.
Dude.
That is how soon people started saying to me that my videos weren't the way they used to be. And honestly, I get it.
Yeah.
My videos
you tried something new.
Have changed. I've changed. I have been doing this long enough that on a physical, atomic level, you are watching a different person than who first started making these videos.
I think he's referencing the fact that, we just technically die all the time. Let me rephrase that in a less disturbing way. In a period of roughly 7 years, so 6 is close enough, almost every single cell in the human body replaces itself. So in a very real sense, I was going to say shents, because I was combining sense and the word ship of thesis together, but a ship of thesis, I can't speak today, I'm tongue twitching myself. We are a ship of thesis, which is the concept of if you take out a piece and replace a piece of the crew, a piece of the arm, a leg, a ship, a board, a sail, until nothing is the same that the ship took off with originally. Are you still the same ship? Yes. Actually, yeah, we are literally proof that that concept is accurate because every 7 years, roughly, every cell is dead, replaced by new cells. We are literally waves of moving organisms coexisting to create a body. So yes, that is actually a thing, completely new. Just fun little background on there. That is just random fact of the day that is moderately disturbing until you realize, oh yeah, it doesn't really matter because I'm still me. Except you're literally not. You are a completely different individual and no single bit of you is actually the same. Unless you really fucked up and got an implant that was maybe there because you broke a leg and had to get the same bolted in. That's still the same. And it'll never change unless you really fuck it up again. And at this point, you probably have other issues.
If I tried to make these videos the way they used to be, why you should watch is every 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, God.
I can't do that anymore.
It would feel weird.
And I don't want to.
At least on my end, that would be like going back to sitting here, letting a video play, never speaking, which I did briefly, but I then started realizing I want to say things and never getting idea across because I would miss the vast majority of an episode because I just wanted to get my idea across and then miss what was being said. So I would just have everyone go in the comments like, dude, you didn't even watch the video. Just sit there quietly. Shut up. We don't actually care what you have to say. We just want to rewatch the video. And before anyone says that's a stupid take, yes. Yeah. Also, I still get those comments where, why are you bothering to talk? Also, why are we watching a reaction if we don't actually care about the reaction? At that point, you should literally just go rewatch the original. And that's a perfectly valid idea. I do it all the time for things I like. Why not?
Everything changes. And that can make seeing what they are complicated. That can be scary, but
Rose-tinted glasses, then.
it doesn't need to be. When you're looking at media from your past, what are you actually seeing? Are you seeing what it is, or are you remembering how it felt?
And just to add on to there, when he talks about how you remember what you felt, memory is bad. Like, not slightly inaccurate. I mean, the act of remembering something is reaccessing the digital file, or not digital, the biological file in your brain. This is actually how it works. And you relive it to get the memory. But you're not reliving it identically. You're reliving what you think it is. So some things are lost and you reinterpolate it to get how you think it went. So if you look at a picture and then you go in a different room and you just think about it, and you think about it, and you think about it, you go somewhere else, you think about that picture, constantly trying to remember the same thing. You're basically playing telephone with yourself until when you finally see it again, it's like, whoa, that is not what I remembered it as. Now, it's not usually a fast process, but reaccessing the file in your head essentially changes it every time because it doesn't one-to-one transfer to what you're re-remembering to what you store in your brain. That is actually why things are misremembered, why memory is fallible, because it is inherently wrong the more you think about it. If you have a memory that you never think about for your entire life until one time, infinitely later, that memory is going to be pretty damn accurate. But if you love this memory and you think about it all the time because it's amazing, you're going to remember the smell of your mother's cookies, the bite of the chocolate chip, and it's going to get built up in your head because you remember just those parts that really meant the most to you until it is just this great, amazing, overpowering sense that you live by. And it's not actually like that in reality. For the same reason, when you have something horrible that was terrible and it just pissed you off and you're like, fuck that guy, he cut me off in traffic. 20, 30, 50 years from now, all you remember is the anger. You were driving and maybe that guy pulled out a shotgun on you and tried to road rage you. And you might not know if that is really the case or not because that's what you remember because of years of re-remembering the rage. So rose-tinted glass in this case, that is it. Also, by that same metric, shit-tinted glasses is also a completely accurate way to put it. But that is why what he's talking about is so fucked up because you literally have no ability to say otherwise until you relive the experience by seeing it again, by doing it again. I've only gone on this tangent because it's actually kind of fascinating how we are inherently biologically driven to be wrong. I find all of this fascinating, but it also means reliving experiences is a perfectly valid thing to do. because your experience is wrong from what you remember. So get a refresher, do it again. It's like getting to relive all the things you loved. They're not going to be what you thought they were. But if you actually loved it the first time, you're probably going to like rediscovering it. Except then a lot of people are like, well, this isn't what I remembered, because your memory inflates the parts that stood out the most and kind of glosses over the rest. It's fascinating when you get into the actual workings on the biological side.
I don't have a confident answer to that question. When I rewatch season 6, I can't say that a part of the appeal isn't the memory of being younger, life being simpler. And so when I think of that moment from the Simpsons arriving in London airport, was it really that one bad joke that bothered me? Or was it the subtle creeping implication that everything, even the TV shows I loved, were changing? I don't know. But what I do know is that,
and he's talking more about associated memories.
Saying this in my mid-30s is the one thing life has beaten into me, is that the more you expect things to be what they were, the more disappointed and bitter you will become.
That is not just about TV or life in general. That is everything. That is not life in general. That is life in very specific detail. And I mean, there's an old joke about how back in my day, and then you say how it was so much better. It's an old standby joke, but it exists because that's how people rose tint those glasses. I mean, it's a cliche to say that, but cliches work because they worked. It's supposed to be Johnny Carson he's watching? Ah.
I think it's really important to remember that. Whether it's watching a cartoon from 30 years ago that's still going, or if you just happen to live that long. Oh, also, that's what the Silent Hill bit was about.
What?
And also the wrestling bit. That was obvious, right? Oh, I've ruined the conclusion to this video.
That, it wasn't what I was expecting, because I was expecting him to go one of two ways. One, it was actually great and there's just a few more things I missed. And then it was great, which we didn't get. It was good still. Or it would go the other way where it's like, and it's shit. Thanks for all the good feels. It's back to being horrible again. I'm glad the second one didn't happen. And admittedly, the first one would have been nice, but I like where we ended, where it's good. It's showing improvement. We're seeing creativity come back in as it's trying to find its own way as a show. And I feel better about this because it feels like it's coming out from its own shadow. It's trying to overcome the inherent bias that he ended the video talking about. How we remember this. We have so many associated emotions that everything is tied together in a slurry of what the fuck is going on. I have no idea. Let's just try and go back to what was easier because we remember this. Also, if anyone's wondering about my little tangent about memory and how it is affected, I would normally say there's a link below to check out some of the peer-reviewed journals about it, but frankly, those are boring as fuck. If you like that kind of stuff, fascinating. If you don't, check out some YouTube videos on it. I'm sure you can find some crackpot guy who says it's actually made by aliens. Oh, sorry. I mean, that's the History Channel. My mistake. It's an easy confusion on my part. Remember when the History Channel was good? It ended with Mythbusters left, and it started when Mythbusters got onto it. Yeah, that's not rose-tinted glasses. That's just an accurate representation of Mythbusters being awesome. And then there's also the History Channel. And if they weren't on the History Channel, that would explain why I could never seem to find them on TV. I was always looking on the wrong channel for years. Huh. Moving on. I like this. It's not as depressing as some of the other videos he's done. And it's not as uplifting as some of the ones he's pulled together at the end, where I just feel like, wow, that's awesome. This is real. There's good and there's bad. And I'm not going to say it's overwhelmingly one or the other. I feel like it's showing progress. And that's really what I wanted out of this, because it's showing that even if it's been in a bad place, it's coming out of it. It's like a friend who's finally getting their life back on track. And I like seeing that. That's a lot of projecting on my part. But I'm fine with that because, I mean, I'm a random idiot on the internet. I might as well just say whatever the hell I want because I can. All joking aside, though, I do like seeing a solid, dedicated improvement and writers being allowed to show really complex ideas and prove that if they ever just made an entire spin-off Simpsons show that was completely slice of life anime styled, it would probably do well. Hell, I'd watch it. I like the style change. It would do it for me. Yeah. But if you haven't, you guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. If there's something I should watch next from Super Eyepatch Wolf, let me know. It's probably a wrestling vid. Because at this point, I just need something that's going to be just amazing. And I've heard making a villain is amazing on his end for everything he did and some of the actual writing tropes that he put into there, which, I mean, I got a master's in fiction, man. I see writing tropes and I geek out so damn hard. Yeah, it's why I have an encyclopedic knowledge of a random bullshit. Because to be a writing major, you have to have just a bunch of random facts that seem almost completely useless, so you can just sprinkle them into something that you write to give depth to a world. Is it ever going to be useful in any way, shape, or form? No. No, it won't. But you have it. That's basically what being a writing major is like. Yeah. More importantly, you guys know the deal. Link below video. Hit it up. Tell me what I should check out next, and I'll check it out. I'll see you then. Adios.